So we'll call the meeting to order. We'll note that there is a quorum as 3 people are present, and that's what a quorum requires for this group. I'd ask for a motion to approve today's agenda.
So moved.
Seconded.
My brain isn't working.
All in favor?
Vote on the motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We'll next ask for a motion for approval of the minutes of the last meeting.
I so move.
Second.
Any conversation? Call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. We're moving right along. So next we'll get to new business. Who's our new business person today? It's the senior mechanic, update job qualifications.
Good morning.
So the only change that we want to go ahead and ask for is in the qualifications section, it states that at this present time, that the person applying for this position must be ASE Master Certified, which stands for Automotive Service Excellence Certified, dealing with heavier equipment. And what we want to change that to is to allow the candidate 6 months within the first 6 months of their hire date to be able to acquire that certification. So we want to change it from you must have it upon applying for the job to you get 6 months to earn that certification within your first 6 months of hire.
Okay. Any questions?
Yeah, what's involved in getting your certification?
Yes, so my understanding, and honestly, I don't have a huge understanding, so I want to be totally honest about that, but my understanding is that you would take a series of courses in order to get that certification through the ASE classification.
Is the reason for this that you're not finding candidates?
So partially, but another reason for this that I've spoken with our manager about is that this is actually pretty common among automotive agencies in which they don't necessarily make this a standard requirement, but allow you to get it within your first 6 months. So we simply want to model that so that we can be competitive in the job market.
Okay, any other comments? Thank you.
Thank you.
I lost my place again. There we go. The crime analyst.
Madam
We're
Chair,
very interested in this one.
Madam Chair, we need a vote on the prior agenda item, please.
I'm sorry, I couldn't understand.
We need a vote on the prior agenda
You're
item,
right.
please.
Thank you.
Yes.
Keep me clean. So, somebody have a motion on the senior mechanic update of the job qualifications?
I move we approve.
Second?
Seconded.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion carries. Thank you. Okay, your turn.
Madam Chair, Commissioners, Scott Van Nieuwenstein with HR. You have before you the job posting for crime analyst. We're excited to bring this to you. We're seeking an experienced crime analyst to establish a crime analysis unit within the police department. The unit would be responsible for providing complex analysis of a wide variety of crime data from multiple sources to guide future crime prevention efforts and resource allocation within the department. The testing process will be a written exam for 30%, interview for 70%. Some of the duties are listed there as well. The qualifications on the back, we're looking for someone with a bachelor's degree in criminal justice, computer science, statistics, research analysis, or closely related field, and 3 years related experience in crime analysis, report writing, and data collection, or an equivalent combination of education and experience. Looking for someone who can obtain certification in a particular professional crime analysis program. There's one mentioned there, but it's not specific to that one. It could be, there's several out there that are available. And then at the bottom, knowledge and skills, we're looking for comprehensive skills in and knowledge of. So I or entertain any questions you have. I do have Major Bladel here, just in case you ask a question that I don't have an answer to. I can, of course, have him come up as well, but I'm excited for this.
I have a question.
Yes, Karen?
So is there a background check required for this position?
There is, yeah. It'll be, all positions at the police department have to go through a background investigation and polygraph.
So this one would too?
Absolutely, yep.
I have a quick
Question.
Yes.
Is this a new position or is this?
I was anticipating that question.
Okay.
It's kind of, sort of. We did have a management analyst position that spent half-time PD and half-time at the fire department. Now both departments have their dedicated analyst, so this crime analyst position will be 100% working on issues at the PD.
Gotcha. Okay, thank
So
you.
essentially adding an extra half.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Okay.
that makes sense.
Why was halftime sufficient before and is not now?
Why was it half-time before and now is it full-time?
Yeah, why was it sufficient before to have halftime?
It was working on other areas. This is going to allow this particular position to dive deeper into the crime analysis component versus being able to only work half-time. So this really is going to allow the department to move forward on initiatives based on the data collection and the results of this position.
Is there some way, this is probably not a fair question, but is there some way that this increase in ability to analyze crimes is going to help us with our shooting problem?
It definitely could, yes. Yep,
Okay.
they'll be working closely with our criminal investigation division. Yep.
Any
Scott?
other questions? Yes.
Yes.
Maybe Major Bladel can address some of the intricacies of the position and why it's really important to our police department. This is one of our focus areas, crime analysis, as a city. So Major Bladel?
Madam Chair and board members, thank you for having me here this morning. Yeah, to answer the question regarding the part-time analyst. So while we had that opportunity to have a part-time analyst within the agency, we were selected through the National Public Safety Partnership, which is a Bureau of Justice Administration program. And in that program, it allowed our agency to get a number of different evaluations, and those evaluations hit on our efficiencies and, you know, some of the policies and how we operate as an agency. Two big areas of evaluation that we received was a crime analysis assessment as well as a non-fatal shooting assessment. And both of those kind of married on a position for a crime analyst. Their recommendations through their national assessment was that our agency, our size, the amount of data, the amount of crime that we have in a community our size is that we should have a unit of at least 2 crime analysts. And that's some of the things that we as an agency are working towards goals on, reaching that point to get to that secondary part of crime analyst. So back to your question, yes, you know, having an analyst devoted solely to crime will help us be efficient. It'll help us on our investigative aspects. And it'll also help us with the trend aspects to include our shots fired calls.
Okay. Any other questions?
Just a
question. Can you hear me?
Oh, okay. I didn't know where that came from, but does this person have to be a uniformed officer?
Okay, so this position is a civilian support staff, so it's not a sworn officer.
Did somebody else?
Can I be heard? Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you. Director Lacey?
Yes. I have a question. So is this, I didn't get a copy of the slides, so I'm not sure what information is provided, but is this going to be a position that's analyzing reported crimes, or is this like a predictive policing position where you're?
So excellent question, and thank you. This is analyzing the data that we have, making us more efficient, helping us strategically plan and address crime in the bigger sense.
So it's like crime that has not been committed yet, like it's predictive policing?
No, it is not predictive policing. It's analyzing the crime data that we have.
So like, and is it like information about crimes that have been reported and maybe like connecting them, or?
Yes, it could. An example that I can give you for a series of crimes would be one that was just recently said was shootings. So what the crime analyst will allow us to do is to analyze each and every incident and determine the commonalities between those and help us rapidly determine a strategy to address those so we can kind of disrupt any kind of further criminal activity. So not necessarily predictive, but it's actually being able to analyze the data faster, make us more efficient, and help us move forward in a more rapid fashion when it comes to addressing violent crime.
So it's for like future crime.
Well, I don't think we heard that.
For future crime, it could be used for crime preventative measures. I don't think we can predict crime, if that's what you're asking, Ms. Lacy.
So I know like from, like civil rights, constitutional law aspects, it's kind of framed as predictive policing because you are looking at data and it's kind of one of those garbage in, garbage out things. And if the data going in is biased, the data coming out is biased. So I was wondering if this is one of those initiatives or if this is something like, I don't know, let's say you have 10 shots fired incidents and you all can't figure out how they're connected. You can take that data of already committed crimes and figure out how they're connected, or if this is something where you have 10 shots fired incidents and you take data and then you figure out if there's going to be an 11th.
Yeah. So I guess to answer your question, it would be more in the investigative, reactive sense, not necessarily predictive. So it would be assisting in managing or assisting our investigators in piecing together, a series of incidents. So if we are able to highlight an active person who's committing violence within our community, potentially we could stop a future shooting. But as far as being able to predict and do that, that's not the intent of this model. The intent of this model is that, we as an agency that handles 103,000 calls for service a year with an enormous amount of data, hopefully allow us to analyze that data in a more efficient manner and make sure that our resources are being allocated in an efficient manner. So that's the intent of this position.
So like the example you gave, like if you know someone is committing violent crime, is this, like, couldn't you just arrest them? Does it need to, if you already know that they're committing violent crime, or is it figuring out if they're going to do it again?
Well, this would be in support of potentially arresting, support of investigative actions. So it'd be more of investigative support to initiate those arrests, yes.
So like obtaining additional evidence, or?
Well, here's a better example. Okay, say we have 10 shots fired, and we have 10 investigators working each of those shots fired. What an analyst can do is help bridge those investigators together, help compare their information through their incidences, and come up with a solution or a direction on how they can further that investigation, whether that's an arrest, more than likely, arrest direction. But it's compiling data and compiling the information we have. We're not trying to predict. We're not trying to, focus allocations on things that haven't happened yet. These are more of a reactive sense and investigative sense in being able to be efficient on how we do it.
Major Bladel, perhaps you could share, just to wrap this conversation up, perhaps you could share again that we've been through a series of studies and that each of those studies has recommended an increased focus on the crime analysis function within the PD and how that is a best practice model. I know that you're working closely with other agencies through this, so perhaps you could share that. And then at that point, I don't think that staff would have any more information to provide on the position.
So again, thank you. We have been through a series of assessments through the National Public Safety Partnership. And again, that works on our agency's best practices on, how we respond to violent crime, how we have a violent crime strategy. We do have some issues with shootings and violent crime within our community. Those recommendations put forward were to enhance our abilities to analyze our crime. We have a number of record systems. We have a number of analytic systems where we get data in, day out, or we get data continuously coming in and out. And having that crime analysis position helps us as an agency focus, helps us to direct our staff in an efficient manner so we can address and address the crime in our community. Additionally, communication. Communication is big. We live in a very big area with the Quad Cities, close to 400,000 population. It provides us the ability to better communicate with the other agencies within the Quad Cities, our federal partners, and allows us as a whole to kind of work together on some of the issues. Some of our issues are their issues, some of their issues are our issues. So having that ability to devote an analyst to those positions makes us more efficient for our violent crime strategy.
Will there be a report at some time describing whether or not this activity was able to reduce the crime statistics?
Yes, there will be.
Anybody else? Yes.
One more question. I have one more question, and maybe for Scott and not for you, Major, sorry. Currently, the job is a 50-50 split between the fire department and the police.
It was, yes.
Oh, it was, okay. Who will handle and how will the current job in the fire department be handled if this position is approved?
That is actually, Jolly is operating in that capacity now at the fire department as the analyst.
Okay, and
That's his.
but he's
focus.
kind of split between two departments.
No, he's fire department. Yeah, this was a previous person in this capacity who is no longer with us. And so now we took the two, or the one that was split, now we got into full-time in both.
Gotcha.
And I think I can add a little more context to that. This was actually approved by our city council, so these positions being separated out was approved by our city council as part of the FY 2021 budget. So we're just moving forward on an action that has already been really authorized by our council and included in the budget. So we're not adding, this isn't like we have just in the middle of the year added new costs. It's already been approved that way. We're just moving forward with the hiring at this point.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay, thank you. We'll call for a vote on the matter. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Seconded.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes. And as soon as I get this up again, next is the firefighter interview participation.
Yes. So I wanted to take this time to I know we have previously discussed.
Excuse me, could you take off your mask? I have trouble
Sure.
hearing you.
No, no
Okay.
problem, sorry.
Thank you.
So I know that we have previously discussed inviting the commission to go ahead and join us on the interview panel for our firefighters. And so I just wanted to take this time to formally invite you, and then after the meeting, if you are interested in participating as a panelist for the firefighter position, if maybe after the meeting, you and I can get together and just talk about what that really means and the commitment to that, because it is a large commitment. It usually does take a week of your time, which I know time is valuable, but still I think your input is valuable as well. And so that's why I want to take this time to at least have you consider it. And like I said, if you are interested, certainly meet with me after the meeting and we can talk about some of those details. And I will be bringing forth next month the interview questions so that you can go ahead and take a look at those and give some feedback and input on that. But just kind of a cool update for you. We have over 100 applications for the firefighter position, and it's only been open not even a full 2 weeks. So that's pretty exciting for us.
And busy.
And busy, yes.
Okay, thank you. We don't need a vote on that, right?
No.
Okay. Don't want to miss another one. Okay, any more new business?
No.
Then we'll go to old business and we'll have the police officer process update.
It's me again. Just wanted to give you a quick update. So I will be coming before you at the November 18th meeting with the certification list for your approval on our police officers. But this year was a little different. We had 2 back-to-back processes since we expired the last list. So this last process, we had 93 applicants apply. 19 did not meet minimum qualifications. Quite a few had no education post-high school. And then we had some prior drug usage as well. So that left us with 74. Were invited to participate in the physical ability and written examination testing. And again, we did 3 dates and different times to accommodate different schedules. Of the 74, 57 scheduled their exams. So we had quite a chunk that just decided to withdraw themselves from the process. And of that 57, we had we had 9 withdraw from the process. 18 that had scheduled their testing times did not show up. And then 9 failed the physical ability testing. So that left us with 21 to take the police officer selection test, the state mandated written examination. Of that, 5 failed. 1 did not show for the written examination. That left us with 15, which we currently have in the background investigative process. So I will have a list of up to 15 for your approval next month. But just want to give you a quick update, how quickly it funnels down. So,
Okay, thank you.
Any questions?
Any questions, comments?
Thank you.
Thank you. And that takes us to our certification list.
Okay, we have 2 lists this month. The first is the code enforcement officer position. This position is an AFSCME union position. It's an entry-level position within the Development and Neighborhood Services Division. And for this particular position, we had and I'll kind of walk you through the statistics of it, but we had many, many applicants for this position. So we did decide to go with the written examination at 100%. So for the minimum qualifications, it actually, in essence, is very minimal. So you do have to have a high school diploma or GED and 2 years experience in progressive customer service or enforcement work. So we're willing to take either or. Must possess and maintain a valid driver's license throughout employment, as you would be a code enforcement officer and required to drive to multiple locations. Be able to work a varied work schedule. So the schedule for our code enforcement officers is actually Tuesday through Saturday. And it does, depending on kind of like your shift, it can dip a little bit lower than your end day of like 5 p.m., okay? Must pass a criminal background check by the city of Davenport. Again, must become an Iowa resident within 2 years of your hire date. And then we do have, and this was, I don't know, maybe Commissioner Guest and Commissioner Zamora might remember, but we did, it was maybe almost a year ago, we added the employee is strongly encouraged to receive a pre-exposure rabies vaccination in the case that something does happen when they go into a home. So we just want them to be protected. So that was added within the last year, I believe. So for this particular position, we had 124 applicants. We had 122 candidates that were in fact qualified and participated or invited to participate in the examination. The reason why the 2 actually were disqualified is because right out of the gate, they said that they were not willing to move to Iowa. It's just not something that they were willing to do, and they didn't realize that was in fact a minimum qualification. So 19 candidates passed the examination with a 70% or above, 7 scored below 70%, and 2 withdrew. So I do kind of want to walk you through that because I can recognize that the numbers are significantly lower than the amount of applicants that applied. And so we actually, of the 124 that applied, us thinking about how many had applied, we'd actually scheduled 3 testing sessions because we were expecting a large turnout. When in essence, I want to say that we actually only had 28 candidates ending up coming to test. So only 28 people out of that. I know we've had this conversation before, that within the last several months, I've seen a huge uptick in the number of applications that we're receiving, but a lack of follow through in terms of actually like coming to test and following through with the process. And that could be a number of reasons, COVID, our current economic status, things like that. So definitely, I will admit I was disappointed that we had such a low number of applicants actually follow through with the process, but this isn't something that has been uncommon for me in the last several months. So of the 19 candidates that did pass the examination with a 70% or above, those 19, based on Rule 2.8, I can actually only have 15 on the civil service list. So in essence, we ended up having 3 people tie at the 15th place. So we had 17 total that went through that background check phase. And of the 17, we did have one person that failed the background check phase. So that is why we have 16 on the list for certification today.
Courtney, can you tell me what this person does and what the written exam consisted of?
Sure. So the code enforcement officer, I think what I'll start out with is if I actually brought the test with me because I had a feeling that question might be asked. So the test, the way that this test is broken out is it's broken out into various categories. And so the first category, and I'll read you a question as an example, if you don't mind. I think that would be helpful. So here's the first question. A property on Marquette Street was 0.75 acres and a mowing abatement was done. The property was mowed. In addition, there was about a half hour of brush trimming. How much should be charged? And so they actually get a chart, an exhibit that they can use to answer these questions. So all of the answers in essence are on this chart. They just have to be able to navigate some of these components. And these components are directly taken from our city code. So they are responsible for upholding our city code so that people aren't, just leaving snow, for example, on the sidewalks and not helping to pick that up so that citizens can walk through, or leaving an abundance of trash at their homes and not taking care of that. Granted, they have many more responsibilities than just those two, but those are just two examples of some of the codes that they uphold. Some other examples of questions that I actually want to bring forward is there's another section in which they're actually given specific city codes. So we give them a packet of city codes. And again, they have to look at the question and decide which city code would be best. So of the 28 people that took the test, I believe 19 passed, which is actually a pretty good percentage of passing rate when you look at 28 candidates. But an example of one of the codes would be a resident places their garbage or recycling cart 6 feet from the curb line. Is this a violation of city code? Yes, no. So you have all the codes in front of you and you get to see, is this a violation? Is it not? So a lot of that is like a comprehension component. And then some of it is, right.
I'm serious, is it a violation?
I think so, but I have to be honest with you. I'd have to go and look. So let me double check on that. I don't want to give you an answer without. I'm not a code enforcement officer, and I don't take credit for it. One of the other components is, and this is very important because if you are writing someone a ticket, in essence, you do have to make sure that you have the right address and that you do have attention to detail. It would not be a good idea to have someone receive some type of notification and be like, wait, I didn't have any garbage at my home, or I didn't, violate this policy. So one of the other sections is actually attention to detail. And so what it has is it has an address on one side, the correct address, and then it has an address to be checked on the other side. And you have to decide, are there any errors in the address on this side and compared to the address on this side? Are there any errors? Is it the zip code that's the only error? Are there no errors at all? So again, there are multiple components to the test to be able to determine whether or not this person would be good at this position.
Well, what kind of a problem would cause that person to be in someone's house?
I'm sorry?
Yeah, what kind of a problem would cause the code enforcement officer to go into someone's house?
Yes, so one example that I can think of, I actually had an opportunity to do a ride-along. And so one example could be like there are an abundance of animals or a report of abundance of animals. Again, they would work with animal control on that. So it's not just them. There is a partnership within the city, but that could be one of the reasons.
This is going to seem like a really crazy question, but I'm going to ask it anyway.
Okay.
So it seems to me that, okay, let's say you have somebody who's dyslexic. This test, is there a way that they could get more time? It doesn't mean that they wouldn't necessarily be a good code enforcement officer because they could certainly learn the codes, but may not do very well on the written test. How do you guys deal with that?
Yeah, that's a great question. I have had specific instance in which I've dealt with that with transit. So prior to the testing component, I had a candidate in transit who notified me that they were dyslexic. And so what we did is they asked if I could actually read the question and the answer to them. And so one-on-one, I did have to sit with the candidate in a closed space, and I would read the question and the answers to the candidate, and the candidate would tell me the best answer, and then I would select that answer for them, and that's how we would process that. It's hard though, because if someone doesn't come to you prior to the test and notify you of their disability, unfortunately, we can't make assumptions for why they may have passed or not passed, whatever the case may be.
Well, and how easy would it be for that person to do the job? That job involves quite a bit of paperwork, doesn't it?
It does, it does. There's also a tablet that they actually use that they have to type on to submit reports. So yeah, I agree that this may not be the best job for someone with that specific disability, but it still doesn't discount how we can make accommodations for people with disabilities.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay,
All right. I will move on to our street maintenance supervisor position.
right.
This position in particular, it's a promotional position within the street division of Public Works. We had a split with this one where we decided to go with the written exam at 30% and the interview with 70%. This position is not a part of any type of union. So for this position in particular, you have to have 4 years of experience in municipal construction and maintenance work. And that doesn't necessarily mean with the city of Davenport. So if you have that experience from somewhere else throughout your time with us, we will certainly consider that and look at that. You also must possess a valid CDL with air brake and tanker endorsement. That is actually very common at this point in the stages. Oftentimes our laborers are getting those types of things within their first, second year of hire, and we actually help them get those certifications. And then, like all of our positions, you must maintain residency throughout your employment. So the people who have applied for this position, they're internal candidates, they're already residents. We just want to make sure that they know that they need to maintain that. So for this position, we had 7 applicants. 6 of the candidates were in fact qualified and invited to participate in the examination. 6 candidates passed the examination, 6 candidates passed the interview, and 6 candidates are on the certification list.
Okay. Any questions, comments? Okay, thank you then. Do we need a vote on these 2 lists? Do you have a motion?
I move that we certify both lists.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes. The lists are accepted. And I believe that that's our work for today, so I can take a motion for adjournment.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Of course not. We are adjourned.